All right, everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to cover basically every single way to get more leads to your service business. So especially your local service business, because we're going to be talking about Google My Business and all the other local aspects of it. Basically, we're going to cover every single way you could do this without spending more on ads. So maybe you are spending ads right now, you're doing Facebook ads, Meta ads, Google ads, whatever it may be. Well, these are going to be the ways that basically you could get for free, you could get more traffic to your website and potentially then more leads and then potentially then more revenue, more profit, more business for you. So we're going to cover all of these. First thing I want to show you is, let's say if you are, doing online paid advertising, you're probably getting them, from, like I was saying, search engine ads, Google Maps, Bing ads, Facebook ads, directory ads, other social medias, or even sponsorships. And they're all going maybe to your website, seeing your online reputation, your content, and so on, and then they're converting and becoming clients. In this case, we're going to be talking about the ones that are free. So we're not going to be talking about advertising. So it's going to be review sites, search engine results, so optimizing SEO, social media, maps, directories, referrals. We've got outreach, we've got past customers, and we've got some miscellaneous strategies. Now, these tricks are going to apply to basically every type of local service business. We're going to be focusing more on the types of service businesses like contractors or anything that's very local that has a high ticket offer. So maybe over $10,000. Every transaction you have with clients are over 10,000. If we were to look at, let's say, some case studies of the clients we worked with and the types of result they had, with some of these strategies that we implemented, we're able to get, let's say, the case of Paris Hair Salons, 142% boost in visitors to site. So a lot more leads to them. Empire Barbershop, 101% more visitors to site. You go to ClickShip, something like 110% visitor boost to site. And let's say we go to Elko Roofing, which got a 308% boost in visitors to site. So these strategies do work. It depends how much do they work for your specific needs, for your specific business, and where you're currently standing within all of these, because some of these you might have. So let's say you might have your Google My Business already set, but maybe it's not optimally set up. It doesn't have all these optimizations set. So it's probably not getting the best bang for your buck. So we're going to cover all of these in this video. First thing I want to do before I get into it is basically share how worth it this could be for your business. So it's if I were to compare, I go to this projections calculator, and I am to assume that these are the current stats of your business. So this is a pretend business, just to give you guys an idea. But let's say you have 2,000 visitors a month, you have your conversion rate at 3%. So when people land on your website or your online presence, they convert at 3%. So 3% of them end up contacting you. Close rate at 30%. Your average order value is $30,000, refund rate at 2%, and this would be your monthly revenue, and this would be your monthly profit. Obviously, if you're lower than that, maybe you're getting 200 visitors a month, maybe it's going to be looking something more like this. If your average order value is going to be lower, so maybe you're a small service business, you're offering low ticket services, so maybe you're offering a $300 service, maybe a $30 service, maybe you're going to need more visitors to your site. So let's say if we were to increase this, you have 20,000 visitors to your site. In any case, you could change this around. If ever you get access to it, you could change it around and put your stats, but we're going to be keeping it with these stats here. So let's get into what this actually could mean. So we're going to be talking about these here. So Google My Business, search engine results, social media, directories, and so on. So let's imagine here you have 2,000 visitors to your site. You're doing this amount of profit per month. It's going to be what it's going to look like. Now imagine you get, optimizing your Google My Business, you're doing it better with the strategies we talk about, you get 100 visitors a month more from your Google My Business. All else being equal, you've just increased your revenue, potentially increase your revenue and your profits by 5%. Now imagine by search engine optimization, you get 200 visitors a month more because you're ranking higher on Google, you're getting more traction to your website. And then once again, you're potentially getting more profits there. Social media, same thing. You're maybe getting some visitors on social media, your directories. So that's going to be your Yelp, your Trustpilot, all the types of directories. You might have some that are more industry specific. So if you're, let's say, a roofing company, you might have directories for roofers. So you might get some visitors there. Review sites, you might get some visitors there. Referrals, you might get, 10 people a month that are referred to you. Some of them close, some of them end up being clients, some of them don't. In any case, you got some outreach, maybe some past customers that are coming back. If you are to optimize all these things and really capitalize on this, then these are the types of results you could have. This is going to depend on how much you do and what your current standing, obviously. But, it's just interesting to note how if all else stays equal, you just increase, you increase the amount of visitors you get to your site by 1.5, and you've just got yourself, 22% increase in profits. Obviously, if your business is doing more revenue, more profit, then the percentage increase is going to be worth more. But in any case, it's interesting to note, even at any stage of your business, you get more visitors to your site, you tend to get more customers. Now, let's also see here the projections calculator. So if you were to notice, at the beginning of this, if red is being before you do the optimizations and green being after, you see how it has an exponential increase through time. Because compared to, let's say if you're doing advertising, which we're trying to, in a sense, avoid here because we're trying to spend less on ads or not run ads. Well, the thing with ads is that the more you spend, the more you get, sure. But as soon as you stop spending, you don't get any more. So meaning you spend $10,000 in ads, you maybe get $100,000 worth of contracts, but you stop spending that $10,000 a month, you're not getting those contracts anymore. The beauty with optimizing all these things is that these tend to be a lot more consistent, a lot more constant. And so if we look, let's say I could even give you an example with one of our clients. If I go to, let's see, I believe it's actually down low. Excuse me, it's loading a little bit with this video, it's taking a little time. So if I am to compare with this roofing company we worked with, we were able to get them, before the optimizations and after. This is just an example, it doesn't count, but before the same 7-month period, so from August 30th, 2023 to March 29th, 2024, they went from having 500 site sessions per month on their website to 2,860 site sessions on the website. Now we did start doing Google Ads in there, so that's why you see the spike here. But in any case, if you were to adjust it, it comes out to something like around going from 400 visitors a month, if you were to adjust the past as well, to, no, excuse me, not per month, but in that 7-month period, to 1,700. It's a 7-month period, so maybe you divide this by 7, so that gives you maybe around 50 here, and maybe you got around 210 visitors a month here, something like that. Not exactly it, but in any case, you get a boost in visitors per month. It would be the same thing, so 328% boost, and that led them in terms of revenue. If you go to the bottom line, that 7-month period, they had about $102,000 of revenue generated from from their current standings. And then with the improvements for the same 7-month period, just 1 year apart, they went to $300,000 to around $510,000 of revenue. I'm not going to go with the exact details, how many contracts they closed. I want to put that information out. But in terms of what they got, just in terms of improving their online presence and so on, this is what they were able to achieve. So part of it is going to be due to getting more leads to their business, so optimizing this section. But in their case, we also optimized this to some degree, and even the rest certainly had an effect. So in this video, we're going to cover this. So potentially you could expect, if you haven't done all these optimizations, you haven't set up these things, in this case for them, we were able to increase the visitors to site by 320%. And if like I showed you in the other case studies, maybe 100%, 140%, 110%. But in most cases, I would say realistically, you could say 30% more. If you haven't done these in the past, 30% more is very reasonable if you were to apply all these. And in any case, it might be worth it for your business, up to you to see. So let's get into it, what this actually means and where you could actually get them. So first thing is going to be your review sites. If you're a local service business, whatever type you are, Google My Business is going to be the number one asset you have. So it's going to be the number one thing you can improve on. What does it mean to improve on it? Well, Google My Business on Google Maps there's different factors that affect whether you rank higher on Google Maps or you rank lower. Those factors depend on a few different things. And if I go to, actually, let me show you a better statistic to show you. So if I go to local organic factors, local Google My Business Pathfinder ranking factors, these are what factors affect your Google My Business the most. By the way, this is a stat I took from White Spark, so I have to give them a shout out. There's a channel on YouTube. If you go to White Spark, WHITESPARK, White Spark, they have videos about Google My Business and optimizing it more in detail. In any case, this is a statistic they took out, basically asking all the SEO experts what are the main factors or the main ranking factors for Google My Business. So if you are to optimize these things in order and really, take into consideration every single one of these points, and these go down, to basically how many here? If I go down to 149. So there's 149 variables you could basically modify within your Google My Business. If you are to do them all in the way that are described here and doing it properly, then you're going to be most likely to rank higher on Google My Business. So that's going to be number one, basically optimizing your profile for all these factors to rank higher. Secondly, I would say is getting as many reviews as possible and as many good reviews as possible. So if your rating goes if you go from 50 reviews to 100 reviews, you're going to get a boost in visitors to site. You're going to get a boost in rankings on Google My Business, and you're going to get a boost in conversion rates on Google My Business. So an example I could give you with a way to see it is that if, let's say, 100 people are seeing your Google My Business, they're going on Google Maps, they're searching your service, maybe they're searching roofer in New York. You pop up, as well as your competitors. You get maybe 1,000 impressions. Out of those 1,000 impressions, you're going to get maybe 100 clicks. So 100 people are actually going to click on your Google My Business profile and then click on your website or so whatsoever. If you improve it by getting more reviews, those reviews show. And what that does is that even if you don't go up in rankings, you don't go to the second spot, to the first spot, whatever, you stay to your third spot, the fact that you have more reviews is going to entice people more to click on your profile. And so you could get from those 1,000 impressions, you were getting, let's say, 100 people clicking on you, now you can get 150. And so that's not changing where you're ranking. That's not changing anything that's tougher to do. This is just getting you more reviews. So that's the importance for reviews. Number one, it helps for brand reputation in general, but actually helps you directly in Google My Business to get you more leads. So you see, this is the issue with, in a sense, with all these optimizations, because everything's connected to one another. And so you improve your Google My Business, you're improving your reviews. If you're improving your reviews, that improves your online reputation. If your online reputation is improved, that probably affects your how much people are willing to spend with you because they trust you more, and then so on and so forth. And so the whole thing, that's why I like to present it in this way, is that every single aspect has an effect on every other aspect. And so if you were to take them individually, okay, sure, it doesn't make that much sense to take the time to improve it, or maybe it doesn't make extreme sense to do it. But when you encompass it within the whole funnel of your business, your whole business profile, it's going to make a lot more sense for you to optimize all these things. And so Google My Business would be the number one thing. This is probably the thing I'm going to spend the most time on in this video. It's to optimize this. So basically have every single information on the Google My Business optimized and properly set. All the ranking factors like mentioned. By the way, I have trainings. I have a training, basically a document training covering Google My Business, how to optimize it in detail. Also have a checklist. If ever you want to access those, they're going to be linked in the description below for free. So you can access those for free. And then if you want access to all the information here, the Mario board and everything, this is a paid product. It also gives you access to all the ranking factors, but this is going to be in a paid bundle. So if you go down below in the description, it's called the optimization bundle. This is going to cover every single thing there, but this is not going to be for free. In any case, Google My Business. So you optimize every single part of it. You have all the information set. Second, you get as many positive reviews as you can. So we have some strategies on how to get reviews, but basically you ask every single old client you have every single new client you have. You maybe even offer lower ticket services. So if you're a high ticket service business, let's say like a contractor, and you're doing your deals on average are $30,000, well, you could offer maybe, let's say you're a roofer, you offer gutter cleaning on the weekends, just to do a bunch of little jobs that could get you reviews. So the point of them is not necessarily to make profit. If you make money, you make money. But the idea is that you could get a lot of reviews for them, because Google doesn't discriminate between a $30,000 review and a $10 review. And so obviously a $10 review takes you a lot less time, because the work needed to do a $10 service, it's a lot less than a $30,000 service. And so what you can do is that you could play around with that and make it so that you get, you do 100 of these smaller services in the same time it would take you to do this one big service. And so you could get 100 times more reviews in theory than just that one review that you could get. So something to play around there. Now, for the other sites, this is something people don't consider, or most service businesses don't consider. And so if you haven't set it up yet, you can basically create a profile on all of these other trusts, on these review building platforms. And so Yelp, Trustpilot, Better Business Bureau, TripAdvisor, and all the other sites that you might find. So you could go review sites, and you see in your local area, you type on Google review sites, you see all of them. Basically sign up to every single one of them, create a profile on that. This is going to be an SEO strategy. So it's going to help you in terms of your search engine rankings. Google is going to value your site as being better because you have a bunch of other sites linking to you. All these other profiles are linking to you. But the other thing too is that you might actually get some traffic from that, because some people do their searching for their services on Google My Business, on Google Maps, let's say. But some other people go directly to Trustpilot. So they're going to go on Trustpilot, they're going to write roofing contractor, and they're going to see the one with the best reviews, and that's the one they're going to contact. Now we have, the strategies to get more reviews. We're going to do that in other videos. Well, we've done that in past videos. So if you go on your YouTube channel, you can check that out. But basically what you want to do is you want to have all these profiles set so that if ever someone goes to search up a certain service, your service on those profiles, on those sites, you're going to be there with the other people. And most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, your competitor is not going to have built a profile on these. And so at least not all of these. So maybe just on Trustpilot, just on Better Business Bureau or whatever. So if you're having a hard time competing on Google My Business, this is a way to capture a slice of the market that your competitors aren't really doing. So it's basically getting the crumbs, but maybe for you, if you're starting out, the crumbs are really worth it. And even if you're a bigger business, having the crumbs helps, fill out the whole pie. So something to consider there is going to be the other sites. Now, the most difficult to implement is going to be your search engine results optimization. So it's going to be your SEO. You got your Google SEO, you got your Bing SEO. This is going to be the one that's going to be the longest. It's going to take you the longest to implement. It's going to be the most difficult. It's going to have the most variability. Again, we have trainings covering this. This video is going to be an overview. But basically what you want to do is front-end SEO, back-end SEO. So optimizing what the clients see, so the front end of your website. And then the back-end basically being the code and all the different dependencies and whatever, so that you could communicate to Google what your business does. So if you were to look at it this way, front-end SEO is whatever the client sees, so the keywords people see, and then back-end SEO is going to be whatever Google sees. And so you want to optimize both of those aspects so that when someone lands on your website or someone searches for your service, you're going to be higher. There's a higher likelihood that Google is going to rank you higher, and then a higher likelihood then that people are actually going to visit your website and contact you and deal with you. Then you got some link building strategies. In terms of link building, that's basically, if you can imagine your business being like a physical business. So if you can imagine you have a location, and on the web, that's your business, so ABC Roofing, and you've got some roads leading to your business. That's link building SEO. So you're getting other businesses to have a road directing to you. And so the more roads you have from reputable businesses, the better ranked you're going to be, because Google's going to recognize you as a stronger source online. And so they're going to potentially rank you higher and allow you to benefit from getting more visitors to your site. So all these things take into consideration. You get the front end, so you optimize for the content for people to see. So optimize there. You get your back end, you optimize it through Google, and you get more roads to connect to you. You do those three things, and then here's the details of it. I'm not going to go into it in this video, but keyword research, title tags, meta description, H1, H2, H3 tags, and so on. Back in SEO, you got your 404 pages, to your own redirects, your XML sitemap, and then your link building SEO, you got 3 categories: backlinks, internal links, and outbound links. In any case, you do all of these. Again, it's too complex to go over in this video, but you do all of these properly, and this is probably the main thing that we did for our clients, and this is the main thing that got us the best results. In the case of the roofing company, the one that had the 300+% increase, we did this in addition to the other ones that we're talking about here. So we did this in addition, but for the other ones that we got 100% boost, we basically did front-end SEO, back-end SEO, and some link building SEO. And that's how we're able to get 100% boost. Now, is that going to be the same result for you? It's going to depend on so many factors that I can't predict it, but it's good for you to do every single one of them. So if you have the time, the energy, the will to do it, I would recommend, first you go with Google My Business and maybe the other sites. Then you go with Google SEO. Those are going to probably be the best two guarantees for you to rank higher on Google and get more visitors to your site, so you get more leads. Then after that, Bing SEO. Going to be the same thing basically as Google SEO, but some variations. So in the trainings, we explain those variations and what you want to do to rank higher on Bing. People don't think of Bing, but it's 6% of the current website traffic that's going through Bing. And so if you're trying to get as much of the pie as possible, if you can think about it this way, well, sure, everybody's going to be competing for Google because that's where most of the traffic is. But if your competitors aren't targeting Bing, they're not uploading their sitemap to Bing, they're not optimizing for Bing's differences, well, you could capture that. And so you could be the number one in a market of 6%. So if your market is relatively big, or even if it's small, it might be worth it for you to do that extra step to rank number one on Bing and then get that traffic. This is not something people talk about much, but this is really worth it, especially if you're in a market where you could capture, it's just a large market, maybe you're in a big city like a New York or Montreal or something like that, where you could capture, 6% of the market might mean, $10 million of potential leads. So something to be worth to invest into there. Then you got your social media. For social media, there's 2 aspects of it. There's going to be, number one is going to be the profiles. So optimizing your profile on every single one. What does that do? Well, same idea as Google My Business. If you get 1,000 people to see your social media, out of those 1,000, how many of them end up going on your website? So what's your conversion rate from here to there? Maybe it's 100. So 100 people from those 1,000, 100 of them end up going on your website. Well, there's ways to optimize your profiles to make them appear in different ways to increase the likelihood of that happening. So going from, let's say, 100 to 150, same example as the Google My Business. And so that's twofold. So number one is going to be that, but number two is going to get more. Is going to be number two is going to be getting more impressions to your profiles, and that's going to be doing the content. So the profile optimization is going to increase your conversion rate, and then the content creation is going to increase the amount of visitors you're getting to it. Those two combined is what's going to lead you to the most amount of possible leads you can get from social media. Now, in terms of the content, this is going to depend on what you're looking to do, what stage you are in your business. But if you are to look at it as a general thing, you have your user generated content. So basically people sharing their experiences. You have educational content. So you, like, let's say, like in my case, this is what I'm doing for Vizions Digital, the agency, is we're doing educational content. So we're teaching people what we do. And so we engage with people, showing them exactly what we do. And so if ever they're interested in doing it and hiring it out instead of doing it themselves, they can hire us out. Worst case, they're not interested, they do it themselves. But in any case, we're getting maybe, more exposure, we're getting more visitors, we're getting more views. Maybe they're looking for just a particular service, not the whole thing. And so we could split these things up and potentially get more leads from that. So this is one strategy we're using. Then you got testimonial content. So that's going to be review sites. So review content. So maybe somebody selfie style saying how good the experience was. You got some vibe content. So it's going to be more, vibe content and engaging content is going to be more trendy. It's going to be more on the trends, trying to catch the waves of the trends, maybe doing these, video stoppers that you see on Instagram, somebody, punching someone and then it goes to your restaurant, something like that. Like it could be stupid, it could be funny, it could be whatever you want. That's going to depend, again, type of business you have and what you're trying to get out of it. I would say for most businesses, if you're just starting out and you don't have the funds to pay for an agency to do your content, or you're just trying to make it easy, what you can do is you could create static images. So you could go on Canva and you basically, let's say you have 20 images of your business, 20 images of your work. You go on ChatGPT, you give it all the information about your business, you ask it to run out, Q&As. And so you have questions and answers. And basically you take those images on Canva, you take them all, you take the text, you put text on every single one of them, and you put a Q&A on every single one. And so what you end up having is you have a bunch of Q&A posts, maybe you have a bunch of review posts that are images, bunch of Q&As, bunch of reviews, maybe 33 Q&As, 33 reviews, and then you have, let's say 33 just images with get your free estimate today or something like that. So you have those static images, it takes you maybe half a day to build them out, and you post them with these automatic posters. So maybe it costs you $26 a month, I believe, something like that, to post it automatically every 3 days. So you have your post for the year. So if you don't want to think about it, you don't have time to think about it, all that's going to do is just going to give you a nice foundation of posts on your social media. It might get you some attention, might get you people to click on your profiles, but in most cases it's gonna be used as an appearance, just to show that, okay, we're alive, we're still in business. If ever you want some information, you can scroll through and see that. Then it's worth it for you to invest in it when you get to a certain stage. By the beginning, if you don't have time, maybe it's worth it for you to just do that, weekend, you spend the Sunday building out those posts, you send them out these automatic posters, and you're done with. So that's going to be that for social media. In terms of your maps, we're talking about before Google My Business being the most important ones, but then you have all the other maps as well. So it's something, again, most local service businesses don't consider, but people search you up on Apple Maps, people search you up on Bing Places for Business, Waze Maps, MapQuest, and so on. Obviously, most people are going to be searching you up on Google My Business, so this is where you want to put most of your attention on. But again, you might get, 10% of people are going on these other maps, and so if you don't have a profile on them, they can't find you. Or even if you do have a profile on them, it was probably automatically created, and so it doesn't have your up-to-date information. It might have some confusing information, and so you could really just capture a slice of the market that nobody else is capturing, because most people don't think about doing this. But there is substantial traffic going to these places. So that's going to be that for maps. That's the way to get more leads. Then you got your directories. So public directories, again, repeating itself, but Google My Business is one. So Google My Business, Yelp, Yellow Pages, Better Business Bureau, Manta, Angie, Foursquare, all the other directories. Basically, these directories are basically sites where you could post what your business does. So you go on these sites, you say, hey, look, we are a roofing company, and you basically create a profile on those. You could create a profile on every single one. If you find 50, if that makes sense for you, you create on all 50. That's going to be an SEO strategy. So it's going to help your business rank higher on Google. But it's also somewhere where people could find you and potentially contact you. And so you get twofold advantage. You get the fact that you're ranking higher on Google because of this strategy. And you're also getting more people to actually visit you because they're actually seeing you on these places. Because you'd be surprised, some people, again, most people are going to see on Google My Business, but you have a percentage of the market that they do the research other ways. And so If that's 5% of the market, well, now you're capturing 5% of the market that your competition isn't. So if you are to say, you know, okay, there's 5% of the market going here, there's 5% going on the market going on the other maps, there's 5% of the market going on the other sites, on the other review sites, then there's a potential for you to capture a substantial amount, especially if you're starting out, or even if you're not, to capture a substantial amount of the market and potentially get yourself more leads there. So directories, that's it for the directories. Then you got referrals. This is going to depend type of relationships you have and the type of business you have, but what you can do to get more leads for free, basically, it's going to be asking for referrals. So you ask your old clients, you maybe have some templates that you send out to every single one. You continuously ask clients, you ask your communities, your social circle, your affiliate, and you create affiliate programs, basically giving out commission to people if they refer you someone. So this could be an interesting one, especially if you're in a dry season. You know, if you haven't never asked your old clients for referrals, this is a great way to get leads right away. So if you're in a short time and you really need some jobs fast, you ask your old clients, you have a list, maybe you have 100 emails, you send them all a personalized email. Hey, look, we're really looking to expand their business. If ever you know anyone who's interested in ABCD service, we'd be more than happy to talk to them and see if we can help. Perfect. Maybe you get, you know, 2 out of those 100 to refer you someone. Well, perfect. You just got yourself two clients just because you sent out 100 emails. So this you want to use strategically, because if you are in a as soon as you ask it, well, this is the thing. As soon as you ask it, you can ask it again the next day. So it's not like you could just infinitely, this is not an infinite thing, but you could ask it once and then maybe ask it again 6 months later and ask it again a year later. Maybe give them something in exchange for the referral. So because the thing is that happens that your old client, maybe that day has no one to refer you to. So maybe that day his family member doesn't need a new roof, but a year from now he hears from his cousin that he needs a new roof. Okay, perfect. I'm going to refer you to the business who did it for me. So that just reminds them of who you are and then potentially gets you those deals. So you could do it maybe every 6 months. You have a automation set up so that every 6 months you're asking for these referrals. Then you could continuously ask clients. So all your new clients, you ask them as soon as they sign up, hey, do you have anybody else that would be interested in this? Potentially get us a referral there. You might get a discount, whatever deal you end up doing. That's going to be something else for another video. Asking communities, so other business owners, government institutions, local networking events, online communities, social circle, friends, family. You know, you got online friends, so basically on Facebook, you could do posts on Facebook, on your Instagram, on your story, on whatever, Snapchat even. If you're really desperate for leads, or if you're not even just desperate for leads, you're just trying to improve your business, ask everybody you know, your whole email list. You have a bunch of emails, people you haven't spoken to in 5 years. You could just ask them. There's ways to do it that come out as polite as well. Then the affiliate programs, basically you're just organizing commission with people who are interested in doing that. Then for getting more leads, you've got yourself some partnerships. So when we're talking about partnerships, you got some complementary business partnerships, competitor partnerships, local business, and miscellaneous. Basically, if you're looking for complementary business partnerships, that's going to be businesses that offer a service that's complementary to yours. So I could give the example of roofers. If you're a roofing company, maybe you have a company that does snow removal on roofs, or they're doing snow removal in general, but they also do it on roofs. So what you could do is that if you close the client for a roof repair, you could say, hey, look, if you want your roof to keep staying clean and not have any issues, we work with this company that does snow removal in the winter. If you'd like us, we could introduce you, and so on. And so you could get some commission there, you could get some profits there, and then that could work on the other end as well. So if that person is doing their roof removal and they notice, oh shit, okay, the shingles are starting to look bad. Hey, Mr. Mrs. Homeowner, if you're interested, we know someone who actually repairs roofs. They could give you a good price because we know them, whatever it may be. You could set up this way. Same thing for competitors. So if you have some competitors in your market, you could always reach out and say, hey, look, if ever you have extra jobs or smaller jobs that you're not interested in doing, I'm always open to having commission work. So maybe you do the job, you give them 10% commission of whatever the job is charged at. When you get to do work, you get yourself more reputation. They get themselves a little bit of extra cash in their pockets for these leads that they're getting anyways, but they can't fulfill. You got some local business partnerships. So local businesses in your area that might offer, that you could partner with. So an example I could give you is, you know, if you have maybe a real estate company or something like that for contractors, real estate company in your local area, real estate agents. So you could work with them and say, okay, look, if ever you see an homeowner that's looking for XYZ service, I offer them. You could deal with them that way. So they're not necessarily a complementary service, but they're in your local area. And so in terms of region, they could refer you to stuff. Then you got some other types of partnerships you could find. Then joint ventures comes out to around the same thing. So basically you're bundling your offers. So if you're offering something like a roof repair, you're going to offer roof repair, gutter cleaning, and window cleaning all at the same time. And that's going to be a bundle offer. So you could connect with these business owners and then get yourself leads, back and forth. So another strategy there. Then you got some complementary offers. So again, if you're adding stuff to it and so on and so forth. So these are really going to depend on what type of business you have. But a great way, especially if you haven't connected with these people, a great way that we've seen most service businesses we work with already do this. So, or at least the ones that are contractors, they end up having, partnerships with other people, let's say in the roofing space, where the roofing company that we're talking about, they do only flat roofs, or they prefer to do flat roofs. So as soon as they get a shingle roof, they refer to their business buddy. That business buddy gives them a commission for referring them. And then other side, they do shingles more than flat roofs. So as soon as they get a flat roof contract, they give it back to the other person, and so on and so forth. They switch it up there. So that's going to be that for that. In terms of outreach for local service businesses, for service businesses in general, I would say outreach is going to be less valuable of a strategy, because since it's your local market, it's not, if you're an agency, if you're a coach, consultant, something like that, maybe cold email is going to work more. Maybe if you're in the commercial space, that might work more because you're contacting business professionals, so you're trying to get them leads. But if you're, let's say, a contractor, I keep going to this example, but if you're a contractor, your service is very on demand. It's very when there's an issue that happens, I need this XYZ service. It's not a thing that I might be open to doing tomorrow if I feel like it. If you're an agency, then you're selling, let's say, a website, then it's going to be like, okay, well, I could cold outreach to these people because maybe they don't need a website, but maybe I could share to them why they might want to do a website. So it's a want thing more than a need thing. In terms of a contractor, you're more in a need space. And so need space, you can't really interrupt people with it. The thing you can do though is online communities. You could go to maybe Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, or whatever other social media groups you could find. Your local ones, your related interest groups, and so on. You can basically post on those and say, hey, look, we do XYZ service. If ever you're interested, we do it, blah, 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 blah. So you could add that there as a strategy. But for the rest, I would recommend, you could always try it, but I haven't seen it work super well for service businesses, for local service businesses. Now, the last two here, you're going to have your past customers. So this is going to be if you're a business that's already dealing with a bunch of customers. You have, your newsletter, and you have your infinity flow. Basically what these are is that as soon as you finish with the client, so as soon as the client, goes through the whole funnel, so they inform themselves, they contact you, they purchase from you, they're going to get to this point. Basically the client receives the service. So they receive the service, they have an onboarding with you, and so on and so forth. And then you have a post delivery. When you deliver the service to them, you could there's two options. You either end the relationship with them there and say, hey, thank you for the work, whatever, and you leave, or you try to, you keep them in your ecosystem, even though they're already fulfilled. So maybe if you're a roofer, you're not going to be selling them another roof tomorrow. That's not how that works. But if you keep them in your ecosystem, maybe you send them an email every month, reminding them of what you do. Maybe you have some extra services that could be interesting for them, maybe gutter cleaning, maybe window cleaning, maybe, whatever extra services you offer. You could also mention, partners of yours. So you say, hey, look, we have this new partner that we're working with, this window cleaning company. If ever you're interested in getting those cleaned, we could always connect you with them. So you could use this as a newsletter, so giving news about your business and the novelty of it. So if ever you're interested in your service, they could contact you. But you could also do as an infinity flow, basically sending them messages basically every week, every day. Well, I wouldn't say every day. I would say every month, basically sending them an update on what you do and what you can do for them, and if ever they're interested in a service of yours. So it's very nonchalant, it's very smooth, and they're not aggressive emailing campaigns. They're not the same as maybe your cold emails. They're just going to be explanatory and just saying, hey, look, we do these, so if ever you're thinking about us, you can do this. And this is going to include your referral flows, your review asking flows, and so on. Then you got some miscellaneous strategies. We don't cover these in these videos just because these are going to be more specific to your business, and they're not necessarily online things you could do, or if they are online, they're less likely to work. So podcast, e-commerce stores, you could basically sell digital products and then try to upsell them on your service. This is going to be more applicable for agencies. Got your outdoor signs, flyers, cold mail, private websites, so this is something else, and then online marketplaces, maybe Facebook Marketplace, you post your business there. Then you got your in real life promotions, branded business storefront, branded vehicle, branded worksite, and so on and so forth. You got your real life advertising, your TVs, your radios, your billboards, your newspapers, and so on and so forth. So these are going to be basically every single way to get more leads without spending on ads. I can't even think of any other way. And maybe there is, in terms of it goes down deeper, but in terms of general ideas, I can't even think of any other way. And these ways, most of them, we've tried them for our clients, so we know that they work. At least they've worked in the past. Are they going to work for you? That's going to be dependent on so many factors, so I can't predict. But if I am to assume something, is that if you are to do every single one of these to perfection, or at least close to perfection, there is, the likelihood of you not getting more leads is going to be close to zero. So the idea with that is that you could do all of these, and all these together have an effect on each other. So the more you do one, the better your second one's going to do. Because if you have, a better reputation online, and then the people see you higher on Google, and then when they go check your social media, you have better profiles on social media. They go check you on a maps, you have a bunch of reviews on all the maps. You're on all the maps. So everything kind of does it better and better, and so it works as like an orchestra, where every single instrument has a part in the symphony. And so if you have every single one of them optimized, every single one of them closest to perfection, then the whole song, the whole symphony makes more sense. And so that's going to be it for when the lead notices your business. If you have any questions, any comments you'd like to make part of, let me know of, please let me know in the comments. Ask me anything. I'll try to answer them all. If you have anything you think we could add to this, please let me know as well. I always like to add to things. So maybe there's something I didn't think of that we could add. If there's anything that you're confused about, please let me know as well. I'm going to try to answer those. If you want to access our 12 trainings, so basically it's the trainings here that you keep seeing here. So Google My Business, social sites, referrals, reviews, and so on. We have 12 of those covering how to get more leads, how to improve your conversion rate, how to improve your close rate, your sales close rate, how to improve your AOV and LTV, and so on. We have trainings covering all of these with basically documents with the checklists within them. So those are going to be accessible for free in the description below. If you want to access this whole bundle, so this whole thing here with all the projections calculator and the advanced checklist, you can access that in the description below as well. This is going to be a paid product though. This is not for free, but if you want to access that, you could take it there as well. In terms of working with us, if ever you're interested in working with Vizions Digital, we're an agency that works specifically with local service businesses. I would say even more specifically with contractors, because those are the people we've had the best results for. But if you're interested in working with us, whether you're a small business or a large business, you can contact us. Check the link in the description below to see if we can't help you out and figure out something in your funnel that's maybe lacking that we could improve on and hopefully get you more revenue. We prefer to work with businesses that are doing over $1 million a year in revenue. I would say even more than $4 million a year in revenue, just because if we were to improve by 10%, a $1 million a year business, that means $100,000 a year more in profit or revenue. So in any case, we prefer to do those just because the impact we have is bigger. But if you are a smaller business and still interested in parts of this, so parts of the funnel, maybe your website you want to optimize, or you want to get more leads to your business, you could contact us as well. We'd love to talk to you, see if we can't find something that could fit your specific needs in your business. So basically, we offer every single stage of this at every single level of businesses. So that's pretty much it for us today. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. So catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.